Welcome to the Simsbury View. My name is Dominique Avery. Well, it's been slow in coming, but the calendar says it's spring, and in Simsbury that means lots of bicycles back on the roads. That's what the View is about today, bicycles. Our focus today is going to be on what the community is planning for May, which is National Bike Month. We'll also learn about the Simsbury Bike Challenge, bike safety, and what it means to be a bicycle-friendly community and bicycle education in the schools. I'd like to welcome back Debbie Thibodeau, a member of the Simsbury Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, as well as Simsbury Free Bike. Laura Risotto, is that right? Risotto, a fourth grade teacher at Squadron Line and the coordinator of the Safe Routes to Schools, which promotes improving conditions that make it more safe for children to walk or bike to school. And Cheryl Cook has joined us this year. I'm delighted to welcome you.
Thank you.
She's a member of the Board of Selectmen. If you watch SCTV regularly, you know that. And she's also a cyclist, which I didn't know. So thank you all for coming, and so we can promote all kinds of things about bicycles for the month of May. Debbie, it's what you'd expect in a bicycle-friendly community to see a lot of bicycles coming back on the road as it gets a bit warmer. But what does it mean to be a bicycle-friendly community?
Okay. A bicycle-friendly community has been designated as such by the League of American Bicyclists after a very rigorous application process and evaluation process. And the way a community earns that distinction is by demonstrating a commitment to the safety and comfort of bicyclists. So basically it's a bike culture. It's a town or a city that you go through where you see a lot of bicyclists, where advocates and community leaders, businesses, motorists even are all kind of working together with a sense that bicyclists belong.
So how long have we been a bicycle-friendly community?
We earned the designation in 2010 at sort of the entry level. There's 4 different levels: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And we started at bronze, and then in 2014 we reapplied and became a silver level bicycle-friendly community.
Cheryl, as a member of our local government, why is it important that Simsbury be a bicycle-friendly community?
Well, I can tell you from my personal experience, when I came on the Board of Selectmen, Debbie and all of her members came before us as a legislative body to promote the bicycle-friendly community and to engage the elected officials in the process of applying for the silver level designation. And we had our first Board of Selectmen bike ride at that time. And I got on my bike that I hadn't been on for 35 years, this really old mongoose, and they all made fun of me. It was great. But I got on the trail and I realized this is a great thing. And I had missed it and I wanted to do it. And so thanks to my friends over at the bike store, we got a new bike. We started going out on the trail. My husband is a rider. He's ridden for years. And one of the things that's been very important to us as a town is to make sure that, number one, we promote the safety of everybody who uses our roads. So we have made a concerted effort to make our roads safer for bicyclists, shadowing, crosswalks, things like that, connections to the trail. And we get a lot of feedback from local businesses. Our local economic development partners, Simsbury Main Street, the Chamber, have all joined in to promoting us as a bike-friendly destination. And our businesses are able to say, hey, we have access to the trail. They have been willing to put up bike racks. They have been willing to be free bike locations. And it gives a really nice community activity, a face. So we are, the Board of Selectmen has tried very hard to promote that. We have worked it into our budgets, over the last several cycles, right up until last night. with funding for the Greenway. We've applied for grants. And every time we do that, we raise the level of awareness of the community about bicycling. And we raise the level of interest, from other towns and people who want to visit us.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask about. Is there an economic development component in attracting
Absolutely.
tourists here?
Absolutely. We hear all the time from businesses, everybody from ice cream shops to restaurants to event planners, about the usage of the trail and how that works into, increased business for our local business owners. So it's definitely a part of that. This year we updated our POCD, and it is part of that plan. It's part of our overall downtown development plan. So it's a big part of economic development.
So I'm a member of the tourism committee, and sometimes I look back. I've been in this town for 27 years, and I look back at what's happened to this town in those 27 years, from the Bridge of Flowers to the bike trails to, there's just so much going on that has made a difference, that has taken Simsbury's natural attributes. And, we don't have a major, we don't have something like Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun
Right.
or, any of the things along the shore to attract people, but we have by volunteerism, really. It's quite amazing in Simsbury.
Well, and we
what's
have
been accomplished.
awesome natural resources, and the bike trails are a way for people to appreciate and enjoy the beautiful surroundings that we live in. And we continue to improve on those.
Right.
We're going to be adding trail miles over the next couple of years.
Debbie, in the answer to the first question I asked you, you talked about becoming a bicycle-friendly community and what the process was. It's not automatic. It's a lot of hard work. What does Simsbury have to do to maintain this designation as a bicycle-friendly community?
Well, we really need to do two different things. We need to reapply every 4 years, which again is this elaborate application process that really has a piece that comes from the town. There's a piece from the advocates, piece of reflecting on what we've been doing for the last 4 years. And the other piece of reapplying is really maintaining that momentum that you had from the last time. So sometimes what can happen is a community can work really hard to earn that initial designation, and then, take a little bit of a rest because there was a lot of work, and then they might not kind of get back on track for continuing to improve the safety and the culture. And that's one thing I think that Simsbury can be very proud of. We worked very hard 4 years ago, but we have maintained that commitment, and that's coming from town elected officials, from various departments like the police, public works, parks and rec, from the advocates and local businesses. So all sort of working together and really just keeping at it. And it happens to be a application year for us. So in August, we will be submitting our application for renewal for bike friendly, and it's
long
a really
and complicated.
Yeah, I think we prepared a book last time that was supplemental materials, and it truly was about that thick, and it's a good opportunity to reflect on what we've done. And as we're preparing the new one, we have done a lot in the last 4 years, things that we can be really proud of. We're working on a bike ped master plan for the town, which is a huge deal because it's really the roadmap on how the town wants to improve in the areas of walking and biking.
Yeah, there's so much work involved. But before we get too deep into that, I want to turn to Laura, who we haven't heard from yet. As we mentioned earlier, May is Bike Month, and maybe you can share a little bit about how the schools are going to be involved in celebrating it.
Sure. We are continuing to build and grow on celebrating our bike and walk to school days. 3 of the 5 elementary schools now will again celebrate Bike Walk to School Day throughout the month of May or right at the beginning of June, which is fabulous because at Squadron Line, where I am a part of, we routinely get hundreds of kids who participate, and it continues to grow. And what's been really exciting about it is that people are seeing kids are seeing they can come from their own homes. And that's very exciting. So as we hopefully have some warm weather by then, Tooten, Squadron Line, and Latimer Lane will be celebrating those bike walk to school days throughout the month of May.
So we're actually, for our audience, we're recording this on April 6th, and it was snowing today, and several of us are wearing boots. So much for spring. So I don't want to go too far afield, but just describe, for instance, Central, it's fairly easy. It's a local school. Tooten Hills is located on just off a very busy road. How do kids safely bike to school there?
Well, I think each school has worked hard to really think through how our kids can get to school safely. We just had a meeting of all of the 3 schools and other police department and school officials to help continue to think about how to do that. Tooten is one. Actually, all the schools have a very different layout, and so there's challenges at each one. And yes, Tooten is a school that has a very busy road that they deal with. So we're working hard to be creative, to help our kids think about those safe routes to get from home. We have, each school has meet locations where kids who can meet up and safely follow a route to get to school with chaperoned adults.
So are you working, or do you have suggestions for families who would like to participate and how they can get their children ready for that?
Oh, sure. Well, I think, as we all think about spring and the warm weather coming, I think one of the things we can all do is dig our bikes out of the garage or the basement. That's adults and children. This is the perfect time of year, even though there's snow on the ground, to take bikes to the local bicycle shops and have them do a check, making sure those bikes are ready for the upcoming season. I think that's important for everybody to do that. I think as we get closer to the bike walk to school days, there's a number of things parents can do to help their children be ready. Help your child find do a practice run for sure. Making sure that whether your child is coming from home or whether they're coming from one of the meet locations, that they're capable of that distance. And all of those locations are within a mile and a half. But it's still important to know your child's abilities, know what they're capable of, making sure that their bike is in good working order, that the seat is a proper height for growing children,
right.
Making sure
It
that the
changes
tires
every
aren't
year.
flat, those are all very important. I think another important item is helmets and checking on the condition of the helmet. Even though a helmet might look like it's in good condition, it should be replaced periodically. Also making sure that it's fit properly. So when the child is wearing it, it will keep them safe if they were to have a fall of any kind.
So Debbie, so we just talked about children and families. What other opportunities are there for town residents to learn more about biking safely?
We have a couple events during the month of May that we're pretty excited about. We actually have 2 bike maintenance and repair classes that are going to be offered at the public library. One is aimed at teens or tweens in the teen room, and then the other is for adults. And that's an opportunity to go through some of the things that everyone should check on their bike and make sure that, check the air in their tires, check the brakes, check the chain, etc. But also to learn how to maintain their bike so that it is safe every time they take it out. So, how do you change a flat when you're out on the road? How do you adjust the brakes? How do you lube your chain, etc. And usually at those classes there are some basic safety things that are reviewed as well, like what can you wear to make you more safe. We also have a bike safety class called Smart Cycling or Traffic Safety 101, and that's an 8-hour class. It's about 4 hours of classroom and 4 hours of biking, and that's actually in the beginning of June. But we're very excited about that, and that's on the Parks and Rec calendar already for the month of June. And
Where is that?
It's going to be held actually at Mitchell Dodge. Steve Mitchell and his business has graciously offered the space, and they're donating the instructor time as well. So that's great. Any proceeds from the class will actually be channeled back into our other educational efforts. Other things that people can do in the meantime, if they are not familiar with the laws regarding how to bike on Connecticut roads, how to bike with children, etc., we have lots of resources on our website, which is www.simsbury.bike, and there are actually little short videos, or like a minute a piece, where you can look up various topics. How to position in the roadway, how proper hand signals, for example. We always have literature and knowledgeable people at any of the events that we attend. So we're going to be at the Mini Maker Fair at the library at the beginning of May. Bike to Work Day, we'll have a table set up. So basically anywhere we go, we have literature and we have knowledgeable people. And so I would encourage people to ask questions if they want to learn more, or to come ride with us. So attend one of our rides, ask questions, contact us through our website. We would ride with anyone if they just wanted a one-on-one tutorial. I mean, we love teaching people how to be safe on bikes.
I'm going to be going out with them.
Cheryl does just fine.
So another question that comes up a lot, not among bicycle riders, and that's people who are driving their cars in Simsbury who are not so thrilled with the bike riders. How do you change those people, their minds about bikes and bike safety, and how do you teach them about what the rules of the road are for them, and that bikes have a right to be there? Because there are a lot of people who don't think they do.
Right. That's actually a really important part of our education mission, is to educate not just the cyclists, but also to educate the motorists, because cyclists can't be safe if the motorists aren't familiar with how they can interact with us on roadways. So again, any of these events we attend, we have lots of literature, we talk to people, we use social media, so any of the popular Facebook group pages. I oftentimes chime in with content that reflects Connecticut law on how to share the road. We submit articles to the newspaper. So there's a lot of different things that we do. There's actually a new initiative that I'm participating in. It's at the state level, but I'm pretty excited about it. And that's Connecticut has a new sort of reinvigorated bike ped awareness campaign, and I'm the coordinator of that program is going to be working on some content for driver's education classes. So to actually go into a driver's ed class and give content specifically to drivers on how to share the road with motorists and cyclists. So
That's very important, because most people don't know. And most people, especially on our more narrow roads, a lot of people, they drive a little too fast and they're just irritated at the bike. And then there are some bike riders who ride multiple abreast. And they can annoy some.
Well, we're very fortunate as part of our sort of community engagement that we have a police officer that rides a bike. We have
Several.
Several. While on duty.
Head of Public Works.
We have Public Works on bike. So there is a lot of town officials involved in biking, and they are always happy to answer questions. They're always happy to take comments if there's a problem. I'm sure the police department would answer any question somebody has about the rules of the road.
They actually have great material on their website. So if you go to the town website and go under police, they have a whole separate section on bike ped, and they have content on Connecticut law.
So Cheryl, you made a perfect segue into the next question I had, which is, will you and other town officials and town staff participate during Bike Month?
Absolutely. Like I said, I got started with the Board of Selectmen bike ride, and I would certainly encourage my colleagues on the board to participate in that again. We've also, as I said, promoted Bike Walk to Work Day. We've had other days where we have brought biking to the attention of the public through other events. We've participated along with the bike ped community. So I would say we're trying to essentially work it into the fabric of our community activities. I mean, I think now we're getting to the point where it's not such a special event, but part of every event. So we're trying to say, hey, ride your bike. We have a place for you to park it. We have a place for you to go. We're trying to make it more accessible at our public buildings with bike racks and information, safer roads. So we have, in this year's budget, we have just put some money towards the sidewalk improvements, mostly around schools. So as part of the overall community desire to improve ways for kids to get to school, either walking or riding a bike, to promote a healthy community. And that's the goal for all of us.
Thank you. So one of the other things that I mentioned in the very beginning that I know you wanted to talk about was the Simsbury Bike Challenge, and it's been really popular. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
I actually thought Cheryl might mention it because
I'll just leave that to you.
she's been riding in our bike challenge for the last couple of years. Basically, the Simsbury Bike Challenge is part of a national bike challenge called the National Bike Challenge, which is a program where people log their bike rides. And traditionally, it's been a 5-month program, so it starts May 1st and goes through September. People can log their miles using various fitness apps like Strava or Map My Ride, or they can manually enter that information in their in the computer as well.
So just let me, I'm
I'm
very
sorry, going too
technologically not sort of very good. So you're saying, do people self-report? They say, I'm going for a 5-mile bike ride today? And
It
then
is self-reporting. So I suppose people could, it's just all for fun, really. So if you use a device, one of these fitness apps, it will record for you. So you hit start, you ride your bike, you hit finish, and it will say, oh, gee, you rode 3.4 miles. So, and there are ways to sync that program into this national program, and then the data all winds up in this huge database, basically. I think there were 30,000 people in the National Bike Challenge last year. So it's a huge program. We have had about 100 to 150 people participating in the last couple of years. This will be our 4th year. Every year the program changes. So our challenge is like a sub-challenge under this bigger umbrella, and which is the national program. And they've changed their platform that they're using. They change it every year a little bit, but this year they're changing it a lot. And it will have some implications for our local challenge, but we are still hosting a challenge. It's for repeat people. It may not look quite the same. They're actually stressing, or emphasizing, I should say, the month of May. So rather than focusing on a 5-month challenge, they're saying, okay, let's get people to ride in the month of May. And they're changing the format as well to encourage people to form little teams.
Oh,
So teams of 8. And so then you can
That's a lot.
you get points for riding. Each day you ride, the miles you ride, and you also get points for recruiting. So if you recruit people, then you actually get pretty big points. And if you recruit people who are not frequent riders, or maybe they haven't been on a bike in a long time, you actually get a lot of points. So it's a completely different format. I am working on the literature on how to communicate the new challenge as I learn about it. It will be on our website, which is simsbury.bike. There's a whole separate section on the Simsbury Bike Challenge. So this is our logo here. And, as I said, it's a little bit different. You can actually join right now on the National Bike Challenge site. So that's nationalbikechallenge.org. And registering and kind of set up how you want to sync your miles. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a big motivator for choosing your bike instead of your car, if you have those options locally, and also to get you off the couch or out of the or away from your computer to go get some exercise.
So you mentioned the website again and various things that you're doing. Can you just go over some of the highlights of Bike Month that doesn't have to do with the challenge, just generally for people if they don't want to do that?
Sure. I'm gonna give Laura's other organization a plug. It starts in April. The Farmington Valley Trails Council is having a big event in April where they do a trail cleanup, and so that's sort of kind of the beginning of what we think of the spring events.
Spring season.
We have several different rides going on. We'll have a kickoff ride for the bike challenge. There's actually a ride through the library that has a historical theme. It will talk about the Farmington Canal. And after the lecture, they go out on a ride. So that's always, we do different themes each year, but it's always very popular. The bike to schools.
I see something about the Ride of Silence or Ride.
The Ride of Silence is a national initiative, basically to pay tribute to people who've lost their lives cycling. So it's one particular day every year. There's a local club, which is Valley Cycling, and they've been hosting a ride that starts in Granby. They run through Simsbury, so a lot of Simsbury people participate. And it's really an awareness ride to remind motorists
To be careful.
to be careful because we are vulnerable out there.
Well, and I was thinking, Debbie, you want to talk about our, speaking of economic development, we have a new business in town, Adaptive Bikes,
Yes.
and he's going to be part of some of your events.
Right. So we have a couple new businesses. Ty Trikes is a bike manufacturer, and he manufactures adaptive bikes. And then in connection with Simsbury Free Bike, there's they have opened a shop as well. That's Iron Horse Trikes and Bikes, I believe is the
Trikes and
name.
e-bikes.
Yeah.
Trikes and e-bikes, and they have adaptive bikes as well. And it is nice to have the adaptive bikes locally because they're willing to work with people and really address what their unique needs are in allowing people with disabilities to ride bikes.
And it's nice that they're in town.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they'll demonstrate how they're used and how people with certain disabilities or limitations can use those bikes effectively. He was showing me the trailering of the bike and how getting it on and off and then getting yourself back into a car or a van that's adaptive. So it's really
So
a great
I'm going to
thing.
have to interrupt here because we've run out of time already. I want to thank everybody here at SCTV Behind the Scenes for getting the show on the air. Joe Galliette, our volunteer remote camera operator, and Karen Anvil, our station manager and the director, and Kristen Benedict, our editor. And thanks especially to my three guests. I'm so glad you came back. We haven't done it in a year. And Cheryl, I'm really glad you joined us. And thank you for joining us. Don't forget, if you missed any portion of the show, you can always find it on our website at simsburytv.org, and you'll also see the website for the bike people, and you can check all the information that you've heard today. Bye.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.